So this is going to be a longer replay. I would advise you all to stick around till the end. It's one of the closest battles I've fought in a very long time. I think it's definitely going to be worth your while to watch this. But in this replay, I was on Epirus playing against a Roman player, and I do want to talk a little bit about that matchup. So when you're playing against Rome, you're very rarely going to have the infantry advantage. Of course, historically, Romans were known for having very high quality infantry, and of course in Rome too, that's no exception. They are able to field very cost-effective, very powerful infantry units. My opponent in this game is going to be bringing 6 Principes and 3 Evocati cohorts, so he's not bringing the elite tier Roman infantry, which I think is honestly probably a good idea because you can afford to field better cavalry, better skirmishers by not bringing that really expensive Roman infantry. And like I said, they're very cost-effective. You can bring some of the lower tier stuff for pretty cheap. But you're never going to have I can't say never. You're very rarely going to have the infantry advantage against Rome. So there are a couple ways to counter that. And I want Epirus right now. One of the better ways to do it is to outclass them in the cavalry and the range component. So in this battle, I decided to bring 3 Aspis companion cavalry. Now I haven't used these guys for a very long time. For a while their shot cavalry were actually much better than melee cavalry were, but Aspis and a bunch of the other melee cavalry in the game have gotten buffed recently, and they actually perform extremely well in melee now. And with those 3 Aspis companion cav, I should have a cavalry advantage in this fight. I don't see them yet, but my opponent's actually going to end up fielding 5 legionary cavalry. So 3 Aspis can absolutely deal with that, especially given the fact that I can also field hoplites and pikes to back them up as well. Now the other way you kind of can counter Rome is by beating them in the skirmish battle. And you're not always going to be able to do that because they are able to field mercenary Balearic slingers, which are almost as good as the Rhodian slingers that I fielded in this battle. But in this battle, my opponent actually did not bring any archers or slingers at all. He only has velites. He has 4 of those and 1 levy, I believe. So I definitely have a distinct ranged advantage in this battle, and I'm going to do my absolute best to utilize that to my advantage. Now, a Roman player, of course, with the sword rush army that he has, is going to be mostly focused on trying to close the gap between us and rush at me. But he's not going to do it right away, and I think this was a mistake of his. Now, again, let me say one more time that there are going to be some mistakes in this battle, but it comes down to the wire. Like, it's really close, and even though I do think Rome makes some mistakes, he plays pretty well, and I certainly make some mistakes as well. So we'll talk about those as they come up. But if I was him and I saw that my opponent had 4 slingers, absolutely I'd be trying to close this gap as soon as possible. I don't want to lose my velites for nothing. Javelin units are really good at killing infantry when enemy infantry is tied down, and he certainly cannot skirmish against me. Like, they're outranged by about 75 or 100 range, something like that. So his javs will not be able to shoot at me if I don't let them. And of course I'm not going to. Whenever I see them close in, I'm just going to run away. And that's one of the advantages you have when you bring a ranged component like this for Rhodian slingers, is that you're able to kind of force the pace of the game. And you can kind of control the pace of the game and make sure that your opponent doesn't engage unless you want him to. So just doing some skirmishing right now. Of course I'm going to utilize these skirmishers to their fullest potential. Slingers are fully capable of getting 150 to 200 kills, but they need time to do it. And against the heavily armored Roman infantry, it's going to take a while for them to start whittling them down. But I am going to make a little bit of a mistake here. I start targeting these Principes. There's really no reason for me to be shooting at them at all at the moment. And certainly once I see them to go into Tetsudo, I'm going to stop shooting at them. There's just no point. They get a big armor buff, a big shield buff after he goes into Tetsudo. Going to stop shooting at them. So just going to reorganize, and pretty soon here I'm going to be like, hey, velites, most important target for me at the moment. Because even though they have lost some of their ammo capacity, and they got nerfed a little bit with their fire rate, Jav units are still very powerful. They have a ton of armor piercing. They'll do a lot of damage if they are given time to fire. So absolutely they're going to be the most important target. And you can see me switching targets here. I'm thinking, hey, should I shoot at the Principes? No, I should kill these velites for sure. So that'll be my target here. And with the slingers, the armor piercing they have, and the fact that the velites basically don't have much armor at all, only 15 armor, they're going to die very quickly. So even a couple of volleys should be good to take down a bunch of them. And soon he's going to get tired of this and be like, I'm not going to take this anymore, and run in. What we're seeing him do now is he is flanking with his legionary cavalry. Now, I understand his thinking here. He has 5 legionary cav, I only have 3 aspis. He assumes that he can at least take the cavalry fight. If not win it outright, at least do a decent job. I disagree. With his army setup, and the fact that he doesn't have any spears, I would definitely be keeping my cavalry close to my lines here, because keeping those velites and the swords alive is very important, and I think he might have gotten a little bit overzealous with his cavalry here. The Aspis Companion Cav have 68 melee attack. Legionary Cav only have 33, so that's not going to be a fair fight, but I am going to make a micro mistake here. I don't believe I clicked an attack order, and you see they got a really weak charge off there. I did click an attack order, but it was a little bit too late. So they got a weak charge off. Aspis Companion Cav, they're not about their charge, but it's still something you want to get off. Like, they still have a 40 charge bonus, so I should have done a better job in that cavalry fight there. But I'm going to commit, and I am going to get a nice rear charge off with this Aspis Companion Cav right here. So 3 Aspis versus 5 Legionary Cavalry, and then I'm also going to reinforce with my hoplites, which is the advantage I had in the positioning of my troops. His cavalry were far from his lines, so he wasn't able to reinforce with his infantry at all, but I'm able to reinforce with cav killing spears here. So that's going to make a kind of one-sided cavalry fight even more one-sided for me. And these legionary cav are not going to have a very fun time. So I wipe out 3 of them right off the bat. What I kind of neglect to do here is I don't get my spears over into the back of these legionary cavalry very fast. And the problem with that is that it means that my line is going to have to engage here, and I'm not going to have my cavalry in the fight as soon as I want them to be. So I have my pikes up here. I just decided to fight, and a micro mistake I'm going to make right here is I'm going to leave my Royal Peltas kind of unsupported on the flank. And normally what I would have done is I would have had my spears, my hoplites on the flanks of my pikes, but I use them in the cavalry fight. So I don't actually have any maneuverable units that are close to my Royal Peltas here, so they're going to be kind of isolated against this Evocati cohort, and because he kind of got a rear charge off there, I'm not going to have a fun time in this melee engagement, and I might lose my gen. Another thing I did that I didn't really focus on too much is I focused down all of these velites. You can see they're already all pretty much off the field. 73 kills, 55 kills, 64 kills, 83 kills on my Rhodian Slingers already, and they're probably not even down to half ammo yet. So I've done a really good job with them so far. And all across the line, he's going to engage. This was not the best engagement from him. With the Evocati cohort, it's actually fine to attack pikemen from the front because they have the high armor. They'll be able to cut through and start taking out these pikemen, and he's doing it pretty easily. Down the line, though, with the Principes, they don't have the highest armor values. They don't have the attack values. They're not able to break through, and you can see these pikemen are just shoving them back. They haven't been able to break through yet. So he's kind of having trouble in some engagements here, and he's actually going to get a rear charge off of one of my pikes on the flank with his Legatus, which was nice, which was kind of ballsy from him, but it was a really good job. They're low morale units. They were levy pikemen, so they rout. And my right flank has kind of crumbled here. I've kind of been isolated, and he's going to send his general in and actually manage to get one of my slingers as well. So I finally wrapped up the cav fight on my left flank, and I'm going to reinforce. I need to kill that general and wipe out these units right here. If I can kill his gen, that morale shock's going to be really big for me, but the melee fight is not going super well for me. I've lost a bunch of my pikes. It's going to come down to my cavalry and my slingers, basically. These pikes actually did do very well. They got 100 kills. Very cost effective. They did their job for sure. But they are going to rout. And now it's basically one hoplite unit, a couple hoplite units, and then my Aspis Companion Cav and my slingers. So I'm going to get in the rear here and try to do some damage to these velites, get them off the field, and kill any low numbers of legionnaires left. I'm not sure how many units are... yeah, a bunch of them are really beaten to hell. The Principes and some of the Evocati cohorts are really hurt at the moment. So I'm going to try to isolate those and kill them with the Aspis Companion Cav. It's a miss micro of him right there. He left that way in the back. I assume he just forgot about it, but he'll bring that up relatively soon. And I'm going to start targeting some of these really damaged units with the slingers, try to get them completely off the field. But my melee units are gone at this point, basically. I have one Aspis tied up with these Evocati cohort. They should win that fight pretty easily. And And now I've seen that his general is isolated, and I'm going to try to kill that. But there's a problem. One of his legionary cavalry came back from routing, and he's going to try to kill my slingers. And so I managed to rout that Epirus cohort with this unit right here, and I quickly pull my slingers away and commit with my Aspis, and I catch them just in time. These guys right here, if they'd been given free reign, could have killed my slingers, and that would have been the game right there. Because I need my slingers to shoot all of their ammo for me to win this battle. It's the only chance I have. I have plenty of Aspis left, which is good, but they're not going to be enough. I need the ammo for my slingers, and if they had died there, I probably would have lost this battle right then and there. So I managed to kill them. I have cavalry superiority. His general is tied up in melee and should die relatively soon. His Aspis are already up to 166 kills. So I think I've done a pretty good job with my cavalry micro so far. Yeah, his gen's going to die, and I'm going to pull out. So now it's time to reset and think about the advantages that each player has at the moment. I almost lost that Aspis there. They're down to 9 men, so they're not going to be super useful anymore. Honestly, I'm not even sure they're going to get back into melee without routing, because my general's dead as well. So I have some morale problems to worry about as well. And what does he have left? I mean, his guys are beaten to hell at this point, as are mine. He has a Principes with 42 men left, another Principe full strength, one at half strength, and then an Evocati cohort at full strength. And this is the unit that I'm really scared about. They have 61 melee attack, 75 armor, high weapon damage, and armor piercing. They're a scary unit. And my slingers are not going to be able to hurt them. Even if they weren't in Tetsudo, I wouldn't be able to do a whole lot of damage. Oh, voice crack. Sorry about that. I'm not going to cut that out. You can laugh at me. I'm not going to be able to cut through those Evocati cohort with the slingers. It's just not going to happen. So it's going to be up to my Aspis companion cav. And I'm starting to run low on ammunition. But my opponent is going to put some of his men into Tetsudo formation. Relatively smart idea. But at this point in the battle, what he needed to do was just box up. I mean, they're not pikes, but I have the cavalry advantage. I have the range advantage. He just needs to sit there and take it and have shields facing every direction so that my slingers just can't do a lot of damage to him. He's going to make a mistake here, and I'll point it out when he actually does it. But as you can see, this unit right here is getting isolated. He is going to notice it, and I think he's going to pull back. But there's still 5 minutes left in this battle, and there's going to be a pretty big mistake here coming up. This unit is going to give chase to my Aspis, and as soon as this unit turns, I'm going to start pounding it. They're at 45 men right now, but they're going to take a lot more losses when you turn your back to slingers. Yep, they've lost maybe 10 or 15 in the last volley or two, and they're going to end up losing even more than that. But okay, so here's the mistake. He has 4 units left. Why is he isolating and separating his units? There's that group, and then there's that group. But why? Like, what purpose does it serve to have your men spread out like this? I have the mobility advantage. I have the cavalry. So when you separate your troops like that and let them get isolated, I'm going to bring my cavalry around and hit them from that side and hit them from that side. And you're going to see what happens to Roman swordsmen when they get hit from multiple sides by Aspis companion cav. It's not a good idea. Like, he could have kept all of his guys together in one solid group with shields facing every direction, one unit facing every direction, and cavalry charges would not be super effective here. But instead, he's going to isolate 2 of his units for no reason, and I'm going to be able to charge him from multiple angles. So let's see how we do this here. Pretty soon, I'm going to commit them into melee. And it's really important when you do something like this, when you have swords isolated like that, and it's come down to an endgame situation, is to time it so that they're hit from multiple sides at the same time. If you don't time it well, you can end up kind of getting your horses caught, and they end up dying. But if you time it so that the morale penalty occurs at the same time, usually you're going to be able to get those swords to rout. So, I mean, those swords are dead. Like, they're not going to stand and fight against Aspis companion cav after a charge from multiple angles like that. They're just going to rout. And so I did have 4 units to worry about, but because he let them get isolated, now I only have 2. I'm still scared though. Like, this battle is still not even close to over, because I think I only have like 1 or 2 more volleys left in my slingers. In fact, I think I might have just run out of ammunition. I think that might be the only one that I have left. So now I'm going to have to commit my slingers into melee against Principes and Evocati cohort. And as you guys might imagine, slingers are not very good at melee. So, I'm still going to take my time here. It's really important in endgame situations like this, where morale starts getting really wonky and your troops are already beaten to hell. You've got to be careful with how you engage. If I just ran in with my cavalry and my slingers, I'd probably end up losing this fight. So, I'm going to get a perfect surround off and then just kind of chill and see if he makes any mistakes. One mistake that you could make right here is countercharging against cavalry. With sword units, you need to have them braced, you need to have them sitting still. If I clicked an attack order and baited him into attacking me, and then his sword ran at my cavalry as the charge came in and hit his troops, they would get absolutely decimated. But a smart player, a good player, is not going to countercharge cavalry with sword units, because you'll die. And by the way, there's a weird visual glitch on this map. I don't know what it is, but it seems like whenever it's near the Temple of Zeus, your men will go through the ground, and it's very strange. I don't like it at all. I love this map. I've actually played a couple battles where the building there was very important, but you can see they're kind of moving through the ground there. But now I'm going to commit and get charges from multiple angles. And this is one thing that I wasn't sure about. I don't know with Aspis Companion Cav if I should just leave them in melee, or if I should cycle charge, or do a combination of both. In this battle, I'm going to end up doing a combination of both. I'm going to, with the lower, or the more damaged Aspis Companion Cav, I'm going to leave them in melee for the most part. And then with the other higher armored and like more healthy Aspis Companion Cav, I'm going to like cycle charge with them. Just because I feel like I can pull out better with them and have them not take as many losses. But I've already lost one slinger, and I managed to rout one of his Principes, and now it's only the Evocati cohort, which have lost 25 men. And this is going to be really, really close. I mean, you look at the balance bar, this could still go either way. But I'm going to continue cycle charging with the Aspis Companion Cav. Again, the charge is not their best feature. It's about their sustained ability in melee combat and their high attack. But I didn't want to leave them in melee against Evocati cohort with 66 attack. Like, I really didn't. So that's why I'm going to keep cycle charging with the one and hope that it's enough to break him. And he's going to waver a couple times here. But he has not broken yet. And I'm going to have to charge one more time at least. And it's going down to the wire here. He still isn't wavering yet. He's still in the fight. But wounds are going to take their toll. And even though the balance bar says it's even, as soon as it routs, I'm going to win. So that was a really hard battle. Like, I had to pull out all the stops there at the end. And I do think that going into the battle, I had a better army than him. I do think that with the range advantage and the cavalry advantage, that kind of sealed the deal. I mean, you see that one Aspis Companion Cav, 250 kills. I had 150 kills on the other one. My pikes didn't do all that well, but they didn't need to. I mean, the kills on my slingers and the kills on my cavalry were more than enough for me to close out that battle. Now, ideally, what you'd want to do in that situation, and what I should have done differently, is I should have done a better job in that cavalry fight, microing my hoplites and killing his cavalry off very quickly. I mean, you saw how quickly three of those legionary cavalry routed, but the other two took much longer. And if I hadn't taken so long to kill those guys, I would have had time to flank around with my Aspis Companion Cav and then get hammer and anvils off while my pike line was still intact. I wasn't able to do that, and it almost cost me the battle. But in the end, his lack of spears and range units, because I'd already eliminated those, made it very difficult for him to win. And I ended up pulling it out with the Aspis Companion Cav charges. So, hope you guys enjoyed that. Yeah, I mean, it was a really fun battle. It was one of the closest I've had in a very long time. So I want to say thank you to Puck U for the good game. And other than that, I will be bringing you some more content soon. See you all later. Any pride.